Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IMCSB podcast with me, Miriam Scarpa. And this is our first podcast since 2019. There's no doubt that 2020 has been a long year for everyone. I'm here today, over Zoom, with Sarah Hesse. And Sarah is a PhD student in our institute, supervised by Professor Andrew Tobin and Dr. Sophie Bradley. And in fact, me and Sarah work together in the same lab. As in together, I mean, we're bench neighbours. Well, at first I'd like to say welcome back, Sarah. And actually, could you correct me in this? How do you pronounce your name in German?
Well, if you would go for my proper German name, it would be Sarah Hesse. Sarah is completely fine.
Great. Well, so would you like to tell me something about your PhD research project?
Yeah, sure. So in our group, we focus on G protein-coupled receptors in general, but a few of us are working on targeting the M1 muscarinic receptor in kind of different dimensions of neurodegeneration. So my project kind of specifically focuses on a specific mouse model that's called the TT40 mouse model, and that's a mouse model where the tau protein is transgenically expressed, which is one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's, which are A-beta and tau. So one of those is overexpressed in this model. And I'm trying to figure out if we use a drug that targets M1 receptor, if it can kind of stop progression of neurodegeneration in this model. And we will hopefully see that soon.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you said tau is one of the pathologies, and then is there any evidence that targeting the M1 receptor has got these beneficial effects in other tauopathy models, or?
There has been kind of evidence in a variety of models. So I think the 5 times FAD model, which I think is both tau and A-beta, and some other models that I don't remember right now. But yeah, there have been quite a few, and our lab is also working on a prime model, which is not one of the proteins that is actually changed in Alzheimer's, but it kind of is thought that A-beta and tau are kind of seeded in the same way, and a lot of the pathology is very similar in prion to what we see in Alzheimer's as well. So yeah, that's what we're working on as well.
Cool. Yeah, so about the tauopathy, so I know because I myself know a bit about Alzheimer's disease now. So there's been the antibody against tau as in clinical trials. Recently, they've been talking quite a lot about this in the past 2 years. Do you have any thoughts about this? So why do you think they're not working, or why do you think they are better? And yeah.
To be honest, I don't really know. I think the problem is still that we don't really know whether A-beta and tau, whether those changes are kind of cause or effect, like if they actually cause Alzheimer's or something else causes the disease, and then those kind of react in turn. So I guess more research is needed to figure out what's actually happening. And then also, I guess it depends on what stage you're targeting. So kind of how progressed the disease is, it might not help anymore if you target tau at late, like if the stage is too late, just by kind of when you see off curves how the disease progresses, that kind of those levels go up of tau and A-beta. So by the time people kind of have memory deficits and go to the clinic and see a doctor, by that time you can already see big changes. So maybe it's already too late to actually make a difference.
I guess that's quite an issue, also because they're not really biomarkers now to kind of detect Alzheimer's disease early, but also they're not really disease modifying drugs that could actually stop or prevent the disease, right?
I think that a lot of people are working on biomarkers, but I don't think anything has been published that's successful so far. but hopefully with so many people working on it, there will be at some point.
Yeah, I actually was listening to a talk today. They were talking of using these big data collection systems, so using Fitbits and your phone trackers and all those kind of technology, everyday technology, to try and identify if there's any marker in that sense and in this kind of day-to-day behavior, and see if there's like you can identify a pattern of, don't know, mild cognitive impairment or dementia. Quite cool. They said that they hope to extend to have maybe a new tools by 2024, because now they're just based on like actual Garmin's and Fitbits and stuff like that. But of course, it's difficult because also they're talking of a lot of people dropping out, because just like the disease itself, of course, like people lose motivation, or this disease affect memory, so they might not remember to charge their Fitbit or whatever. And I think that's probably the same as like doing all these clinical trials where they have to go into clinics, I don't know, every month or every weeks or something. Yeah, that would be quite cool.
It's scary as well, I feel, but
quite scary, yeah. Yeah, so I know you talked a bit about microscopy. So I know that you work in a very cool technique called Clarity.
do again, yeah.
Would you like to, trying to maybe explain that as like simple as possible?
Okay, so Clarity is basically the technique that you can use to, once you take a brain from a mouse, you can wash out all the lipids in the brain, which make the brain kind of, I don't know, what color is it?
Like a jellyfish.
Like egg colored, I don't know. So basically, if you wash out all the lipids, you can get, and you put in kind of like a matrix, like that holds it in place, everything else. And then you have a clear structure. So the idea of Clarity is that then either if you have kind of, for example, we have some mice that have the M1 receptor that's kind of tagged with a protein that fluoresces in, for example, green. So if you look at it under a microscope, you can see that where the receptor is, there's a green light. So if you then have those clear brains, you can also introduce some stains for proteins. So if you want to look at some other ones, you can also then basically tag them in a different color, and then under the microscope, the idea is that, or the hope is with Clarity, that you can kind of image the whole brain and then see throughout the whole brain where kind of all those green receptors are and all those red, I don't know, glia cells, and then how I'm in relation to each other. But yeah, I'm still working on that. I do have access to a good light sheet, so hopefully once I have more samples, I can look at it properly again.
That's really cool. So as the light sheet microscope, like, is it really expensive, or really, is it very difficult to access to one? How is it different? How is it different from a confocal, for example? Do you know?
I did try to access a different one. It's kind of custom built. It was built for something else, so it was a bit difficult to kind of translate it to what I needed for my research. The other one that I'm trying to access is in the Center for Viral Research, and they got an MRC grant for this because I think they're super expensive. It's like 250,000 or something area. But so basically, I think the idea is that the light gets shown through the sample, but at a different angle, it gets kind of spread out. So it doesn't bleach as much as it would in a different, like in the confocal. So the setup is just a bit different, and it should be a bit faster as well. We'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it does take absolutely ages to like image one very, very tiny like slice. At the confocal, can imagine like light sheet microscope and do like a 3D like reproduce a 3D image. Sounds super cool. But yeah, it must be quite hard and like very technical as well.
I think again you need also specific programs to then put the 3D image together. But then they have that as well in the institute. Then you can kind of move it around and just look from all kind of angles and zoom in and out. So when it works, it will be great.
Super cool. Like there's like high physics area, which is kind of really far from my knowledge. Yeah. So so your project is a bit more pharmacology, so targeting the M1 receptor, and then you have this model of Alzheimer's disease, and then there's a neuroscience and imaging aspects, and so that's a lot. So it's really cool. So what did you study before starting your PhD?
So I actually did my undergrad in neuroscience as well at Glasgow Uni. But I did like an integrated master's. So basically instead of a 4-year bachelor's program, it was 5 years where you do a practice year between 3rd and 4th year. So for my placement here, I went for 2 months to Korea Institute of Science and Technology. And then for 10 months to the Center for Brain Research in Vienna. And that's kind of where I spent most of my time. And actually I got an email last week that they're about to submit the paper that I kind of worked on as well. So hopefully by the time I finish my PhD, it will be submitted.
Oh, that's really cool though. That's nice. It's always nice when you get these things from the past and you're like, oh, really? I did these things.
Yeah. It's a small part of the whole paper, but it's nice to see.
Yeah, still, because as an undergrad, that's quite a big deal. Yeah, so, well, congratulations, or almost.
Let's get it published first.
Yeah. That's really cool. So you did neuroscience. So I guess like your main interest is more like neuroscience, and so it'd be, I guess, neuropharmacology and that. So what brought you to neuroscience?
So actually during my kind of the final year of school in biology, which I studied at higher level, we could choose an option, and my group chose neurobiology, and I think it was just really cool. I thought it was really interesting to kind of see how the brain worked, and that there's so much we know, but also so much we don't know, and so much to study. And actually during the first 2 years of my undergrad, I did neuroscience and psychology to kind of look at it from kind of 2 different angles, but then decided for neuroscience in the end.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of like very interconnected. But yeah, really cool. I mean, I love neuroscience, so I'm not biased at all.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Okay. So would you like to tell us more about your background? So where you're from? And then I know you spent some time in India. Is that right? Yeah. Would you like to?
So I grew up in Germany, kind of in this small town in the middle of nowhere, where kind of my last 2 or 3 generations of family have lived. And then when I was 16, I moved to India with my family because my dad kind of worked there for 2 years. For the last 2 years of school, I went to an international school there. And I think for me that was really good because, of course, I had English in school before, but it was just everything was in English, and especially biology and chemistry, it was quite a big change because before it was more, I don't know, I had history and politics in English, but obviously that's a lot of like very different terminology compared to like more sciencey subjects. But yeah, so then based on that, I decided that I wanted to study in English, and then ended up going to Glasgow. So that worked out well.
Yeah, no difference at all, especially in the weather.
No, I mean, kind of a cool day was 20 degrees and everyone was wearing wool hats and stuff in India.
Oh my God.
And
that sounds really cool
wish
though.
We had 20 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, I got so customized that like I'm happy with 15. Yeah, that's like the dream, but Oh, wow. So you spend your time in India. How did it work? So how was your boarding school? Like, did you make like loads of international friends then, I believe?
So it was not a boarding school. It was kind of just like I lived with my family and we just went to the school during the day. But yeah, so I think there were 27 different nationalities. So I think most of the biggest group was Indians, but the second biggest group was Germans actually, because they had like Volkswagen had like a big center there. So there was a lot of kind of people from that work there. So their families were there. But yeah, my best friends were German, Korean, and Japanese. But it was really nice. The classes were quite small. And yeah, I think it was nice to just meet so many people from different places. There was actually one Scottish guy who was wearing his kilt for the International Day. So representation.
Yes, that's really cool. Like, must have been such a cool experience. Like you said, you were 15.
Yeah, 16 to 18.
16, yeah, it must be such a cool experience, and then just being exposed to like completely different cultures, and that's amazing. That's very cool. But yeah, and then and now you have a new addition to the family.
Yeah, so Frida is already 18 months. So kind of most of the pandemic I spent on maternity leave.
Oh my God, yeah, that is crazy. I remember when you were walking to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital to see if you could walk there.
It did work. I mean, I did walk to the hospital before labor, so we had to beforehand to see if we could make it.
But so as you just said, you did like all your maternity leave basically in lockdown. So that must have been really hard. Yeah,
so I think one of the problems, of course, with lockdown was that we couldn't really get a lot of help from other people. So we had some short visits from family, but a lot of our family also hasn't met Frida yet. And at the beginning, so when Frida was really small, it was quite good because Leo was still looking for a job, or kind of in the process of getting one. Both were at home for a while. It was really kind of nice to figure out everything and also to kind of give each other breaks and just survive on very little sleep, or kind of catch up on sleep. But yeah, I think probably in normal times when you kind of have some more kind of parent groups and things like that, it's probably, I hope it would make it easier. But yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to. So
that's really true. I myself, I don't have experiences with babies, but I can imagine it being really hard. Yeah, being in maternity leave, having like just this new baby at home and the first baby as well. And but not only that, it also being the exceptional circumstances of a pandemic. So, and that was quite hard on couples living together. So I can't even imagine on couples living together, but also with a newborn.
Yeah, we keep joking that basically we've been together for like 30 years now in normal time, because we lived through this pandemic. So
that's really true. It's gonna, I think you're gonna really enjoy when we come out of this, and actually, and everyone is gonna love looking after Frida anyways. So I'm sure you get loads of help when it's possible, when we can actually help. So that would be great. So so talking of maternity leave, how does that work for PhD students? Because of course, like, we are kind of a grey area, as we're not employed by the university, but also we are not really students, are we? Yeah, so if you can just tell us how it worked and how you can obtain it, what are the options and stuff like that.
So I think I only knew about it actually because a PhD student kind of in our lab area had a baby during her PhD. So Silke kind of told me about the process and how everything worked. And there is some information on the MVLS graduate school website, but I think you have to kind of hunt for it. But I think it is quite similar to what staff get. So basically you should tell your line manager or supervisor when you feel basically safe to do so, but the earlier the better, kind of for health and safety reasons. And then for maternity leave, you get 6 months on full pay, and then you can get another 13 weeks on kind of, I think it's the statutory minimum pay, I think it's around £150 a week, something like that. And then you can get another 13 weeks without any pay. So you can take basically up to a year of maternity leave. And you can kind of decide, so I literally plan to kind of take 7 months, but then extended it to the 9 months, which is kind of the maximum time I could get some money. But yeah, I think they are trying to make it a bit more visible on the website, or maybe also for the institute. So I think they're working on it for students as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't know myself because, of course, we don't really have like an HR board for PhD students. I think we mostly rely on the admin stuff, which are really helpful, and they'll direct us.
Yeah, but I think you always kind of have to ask for whatever you need. It's not like you can just look through stuff usually.
Yeah, but I think it's important for people who have a family or want to start a family like that as yourself, and just know that there are those options there.
And the institute, they're actually looking into setting up kind of a buddy scheme for people on maternity leave. So also when you come back, that you have kind of a buddy who has been through it and you can chat to. I think they want to establish that soon. So I hope that it will include PGRs and not just staff.
Yeah, that would be really good. That'd be really good. Is there like any kind of babysitting or child care in the uni, if you know?
So uni has a nursery and they have like a rating system because they only have very limited space. And I think you can either go for full-time or part-time. But part-time spaces, I think sometimes it's easier if you have someone else to coordinate with, so you can kind of match. But so they do have nursery, but obviously because it's only for staff and students, it's usually quite busy because they only have limited spaces. We emailed them, but they had no space.
Oh no, we could have seen Frida much more as well in that case.
I know.
We'll see her soon again. And yeah, so well, thanks. I think it's quite important to make people aware that there's this kind of maternity leave options for PhD students, and then and I think the budget is actually a really good initiative. Yeah, because I mean we all know that doing a PhD might be quite isolating sometimes. So I can't even imagine how difficult it could be kind of go back to work or start thinking of maternity leave with all the anxiety of still having that PhD project and all that. So yeah, that's a really good initiative. So yeah, thanks for telling me about that because I had no idea.
Well, I hope it launches soon.
Yeah.
So spread the word.
Well, okay, yeah, let's spread the word, and that'll be just a bit of pressure for being as soon as possible. But yeah, so you just came back from maternity leave, and I know you asked the Twitter community for some advice. So how to kind of balance, how to have easing back into work, into the lab. So have you got a plan on how to go back to work during this lockdown / maternity leave break? Yeah, and how do you think you're going to balance? Have you got any plan or any goal that you want to set for balancing your work life with a young child?
So first of all, for the tweet, I actually checked earlier, and it's my most popular tweet ever. It has like 10,000 impressions and 750 engagements.
Oh so my God, that is crazy. A lot. You're famous.
I know.
Just in case you missed it, Sarah's tweet from just earlier last February said, for hashtag International Day of Women in Science, I would like some advice. I'm returning from maternity leave in 4-ish weeks. what would be the top tips for getting things done, but also maintaining a good work-life balance with a small human? And apparently most of replies were summarized as plan and prioritize both personal and home time. Make sure to take family/me time. Don't compare yourself to other people. Sometimes good is enough, and be kind to yourself. So they were all very useful advice, and I hope they might help some of you guys.
Anyway, so I think part of it is that I'm only working part-time. So I'm supposed to work around 24 hours a week, but I think I will see, depending on experiments, how it's going, if I kind of work more or less some weeks to kind of balance it out, depending on what I'm doing. And yeah, Frida is kind of in nursery for 2 mornings, and my wife works mornings as well. So kind of in the afternoons, I can then go to the lab, or when Frida's at nursery. And yeah, we'll see how that works. But I think in general, I would say to kind of plan and prioritize both kind of lab stuff, but also family and me time. But obviously, we also have to be flexible. So today I was planning to have my first 8-hour workday in the lab, and then was called by nursery after an hour to come pick up Frida. So yeah, I think I will just have to move what I want to do today to a different day. Part of that as well, to be kind to yourself and just know that it's okay, and it's going to work out somehow, probably. And also to kind of ask for help when you need it. And usually there's a lot of people who will offer or will be happy to help you when they know that you need help. So
yeah, definitely. Well, thanks. I think that's really nice to hear for probably everyone, not just the people that well, especially for people that are trying to balance this kind of work life, like between their studies and growing as a small person.
I think though the pandemic just makes it harder, right? Like I could tell last week when I was working from home on the computer that it was harder to just switch off because it's in the same space, and it's harder to just be like, oh no, now is family time or now is not work time. So I think, yeah, it's harder to kind of draw clear lines at the moment, I say at least.
Yeah, so do you think it would be more helpful to kind of try and have a boundary?
Yeah, I just need to figure out the boundary. So I don't know if it would be to just go to the lab and lab time is work and home time is home time. But then I think all the analysis and everything I have to do at home because I have my computer here. So yeah, I need to figure out how to do it. Work in progress.
Yeah, I'm sure you get there, and I hope you do prioritize yourself, especially, and Frida, of course. Okay, on another note, congratulations for becoming the LGBTQ ambassador for our institute. And this is such a great thing for the community, but also everyone, all the allies as well. And I know quite well to say that you're the perfect person for this. So you're welcome. It's true. So can you explain to us what the role would involve?
So I think we're still trying to figure that out. But I think the first part that we did was to kind of feature me as a spotlight on the institute website, because we think it's very important to be visible. So I think the spotlight was supposed to just be like show that there's LGBTQ plus people in the institute. We are actually kind of trying to ask not just LGBTQ, but also people from other underrepresented groups. So kind of BAME or disabled people.
Just to add a side note about minorities in academia, data provided by the Higher Education Statistics Agency had found that while 75.4% of UK professors are male, only 24.6% are female, with only 1.9% of those being from the Black background. And while harder to quantify members of the LGBTQ community within academia, a survey by the Royal Society of Chemistry, the American Physical Society, and the Wellcome Trust have found that 25% of all LGBTQ plus respondents to the surveys felt uncomfortable discussing their own sexual orientation or gender identity. And regarding the disabilities, I couldn't find much, but what I found is that the percentage of academic position filled in by academics with disabilities is surprisingly low, considering that there are 1.5 billion people around the world with disabilities. And there's an example of the University of California at Berkeley, where it was indicated that of 1,522 full-time faculty members, only 24 are disabled, which is approximately 1.5%, which is incredibly low. So yeah, here is just some thoughts about the minorities in academia.
So we're trying to write a survey to kind of ask how the institute could be more inclusive and maybe also diverse. And I think I'm talking to Lydia Bach in a couple of days, who's working on kind of work-life balance, and also a survey to kind of put that together as part of how to be yourself at work and everything to be inclusive, and to think about doing some focus groups. But yeah, we'll see if anyone wants to get involved at some point. But yeah, I think it's kind of trying to raise visibility, have someone to talk to if there's other LGBTQ plus people in the institute who just want to have a chat about anything really, they can get in touch. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But if there's anything else that you want me to work on or someone else, I can look at it.
Well, thanks. Thanks for that. Well, yeah, because I'm not aware of like a society or something like within our institute. Like
no, I think there's just one for staff and PGRs, and then there's one for undergrads, but I think there's nothing in our institute.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good initiative actually, because it's not something that has been brought up much, and also that you talked about the other underrepresented minorities. Probably there should be more awareness in general, and exactly like maybe people that do feel underrepresented, they know they have there's like we are a safe space, and there is representation. So I think that's really good thing that our institute is doing, and you as well, obviously as an ambassador. Also, congratulations again. And have you got anything you'd like to say about your experience as a LGBTQ woman in science and research, and maybe specifically at the University of Glasgow or our institute?
So I think mostly my experience has been really good. I think either people are really kind of happy about me being gay, or they are at least fine with it. So I haven't had anyone who kind of was really rude to me, which is good. But yeah, I think for me it has just felt quite good to just be myself and just have kind of science be a part of my life, but also being LGBT be part of my life and not having to hide one part while I'm at work.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. That's great. Yeah, because I don't know, there was no one like before you, or am I wrong?
I don't think I really had kind of ambassadors for different things. So I think Colin was the disability champion, and I think he's been doing that for a while. But I think for LGBTQ and for BAME, they try to recruit people. We have, so I'm LGBTQ and Arvin is the BAME one.
Yeah, so Colin Lloyd is a technician in the Bradley Tobin group, which is the same group where me and Sarah Hesse work actually. And he is the Institute Disability Champion, as well as active member of the Athena's One committee. He also has a spotlight feature in the Institute website where he talks about when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and his experience with that, but also in the lab and in Glasgow.
So I think they're working on stuff as well.
That's really good, yeah. But yeah, and then so you said one of the first thing that you did for this program was the spotlight piece at the institute website, and you have talked about your experience being diagnosed with a chronic illness. Would you like to tell us more about this?
Sure. So I have endometriosis, which is kind of a gynecological disorder, and it affects 1 in 10 women, which is kind of a lot if you think about it, like millions.
So endometriosis is the second most common gynecological condition in the UK, with 1.5 million women being affected in the UK only. And with 10% of women worldwide having endometriosis, that's 176 million worldwide.
And actually at the moment, March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. So let's talk about it. Great timing. But yeah, so I think endometriosis is kind of, there is not a lot of research, but for example, in Edinburgh, there's kind of a big research hub for endometriosis, but there's not really any cure for it at all. There's some treatments, like you can go for surgery where they're kind of, okay, so endometriosis is a condition where uterine-like tissue can migrate to different parts of your body. So some people it has been found in the brain or in the lung or kind of all over. So one of the treatments is basically that you just cut out those pieces, but usually they just grow back. So you kind of have to kind of do another surgery after a couple of years. And then there's hormonal treatment, but obviously not everyone wants to take hormones all the time. And I think there's some kind of people trying to change their diet, or I don't know, do certain, like meditation can help with pain management as well. For example, because pain and fatigue are kind of the worst symptoms for me, at least. Other people also suffer from kind of nausea, depression, loads of different things. But yeah, so for me, actually, that was the reason why I had to kind of go for part-time before, just because the fatigue was kind of too much to work full-time. At the moment, it's really quite good, but I hope it stays that way.
Yes, it sounds really painful and not very nice. And yeah, it sounds like a lot of research needs to be done, especially if there's not cure. And because even the treatment options sounds really, really painful. And definitely 1 in 10 women is so common. And I can't believe there's not that much awareness at the minute.
Yeah, I think that's why they do Endometriosis Awareness Month, because I think the average time to get diagnosed is between 5 and 9 years, which is a long time. And I think a lot of that is lack of awareness. So even when I went to my gynecologist in Germany to say that I have a lot of pain, she told me to do some yoga and that it would help. And then when I went back a year later and said, I have endometriosis, I think, can you please let me see a specialist? She said, okay, I will let you see them, but that's not what you have. And then they said, yes, this sounds like a textbook case for endometriosis, and we do surgery next week. And then it was basically diagnosed a week later. But if there's even such a lack of awareness and kind of medical staff who are trained in that area, I think there's no wonder that it's a problem.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's not nice at all. So have you done like loads of surgeries for this?
Only one so far, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Did you feel like during maternity you had, during your pregnancy you had like less symptoms or something? Because you said it's hormonal, like that some treatments are hormonal based.
Yeah, so for me, it made a big difference. But again, there's a lot of fury by a lot of endometriosis patients that their doctors basically tell them to get pregnant because in some cases it helps. So for me, we wanted a child, so it was lucky that it helped as well, but it was kind of just a side effect in a way. But yeah.
In fact, in general, endometriosis pain seemed to be improving during pregnancy, but also my return after giving birth, as the periods return. And there are reports that people who had more pain in the first few months. But regarding fertility, the link between endometriosis and fertility are not fully known due to the lack of research.
Well, it's good to know that it was about to finish, but Awareness Month for endometriosis, and thanks for telling us more about that. And I'm sure our listeners will
More now.
we'll know more about this. One last thing, I have heard you're now part of the editorial board for Pharmacology Matters. So first of all, what is Pharmacology Matters? If you'd like to explain that, and then what's your role in the editorial board?
I just joined the editorial board at the beginning of the month, so I haven't done very much yet. Pharmacology Matters is basically the magazine for the British Pharmacology Society, and they have a variety of articles. So actually, when we organized the Young Life Scientists Symposium, we wrote an article about that in Pharmacology Matters because it was partially funded by the BPS. Yeah, there can be a variety of topics. So I think the issue came out today, the new one, the March edition. So there's something on vaccinations, there's something else on, they have like a series of pharmacologists in frame where they just interview pharmacologists and their career steps and I don't know what they would suggest people like young scientists to do to kind of get to where they want to be or things like that. But as an editorial board member, either you can pitch articles yourself that you want to write yourself, or sometimes people pitch articles to us and then we kind of look at it and see if we want to use that idea or kind of suggest something different, or we would approach people that we think would be good to ask about writing a specific article about something. I think in the last edition, for example, there was actually by Costa's group, there was one on public engagement and pharmacology, I think. So yeah, if anyone wants to pitch an article to me, you can get in touch and I can pitch it to the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it sounds like probably most of the students and staff from our institute could write some or are working on something which is relevant for Pharmacology Matters. So yeah, great shout. So if anyone here listening would like to write an article for Pharmacology Matters, I guess to contact Sarah. I guess that would be great. I guess it's an awesome opportunity, especially for his early career, to get more publications, but in terms of kind of outreach, more publication, because they're not too scientific, right? It's not like a scientific paper of research, but it's rather more broader scientific topic, and anyone we want to write about, I guess.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
cool. Well, congrats for your position. Then, and I'm sure you'll get like loads of emails and new article pitches.
I hope so. Looking forward to it.
Okay, well, I think we're almost at the end of our podcast, and we usually ask our guests a quick fire round, so to get them know a bit better. So, Sarah, are you ready?
I don't know, but I'm sure it will be fine.
Well, it starts quite easy, okay? So I'll just start, okay? So, favorite food?
Pizza?
Yes. Proud Italian here. Favorite city?
I would say Glasgow. Not because of the weather, obviously.
Yeah, Glasgow is nice, to be fair. And favorite musician or band or music genre?
At the moment, I would say Tom Grennan.
Any instrument played?
I played the flute when I was smaller, but I don't remember it at all anymore. So no, nothing.
Any chance you played it at school?
No, but it was when I was like 6 to 9 or something. So I went to music school actually for that.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. No, because I did play the flute, but I was at school and I was a total disaster. And yeah, I didn't really apply
So
to
was
that.
I.
But I'm sure, well, if you went to music school, I'm sure it was better than what I was.
No, definitely not.
Favorite film?
Okay, give me a minute.
Yeah, so here Sarah needed many more than 1 minute. She couldn't think of a movie she watched because she's not watched movie in ages. So I suggested Inception, and she agreed that was one of her favorite and was her to go to favorite movie when she was 16. So yeah, definitely Inception.
I feel like we just don't watch movies at the moment.
Yeah, no, just like give me a series instead. Favorite TV series?
Orphan Black.
Yeah, I started watching it. That's really kind of sci-fi. But it's really good. I would recommend it actually to our listeners.
It's a very good show.
It's a very good show. I don't know why. I think I stopped on series 3. Yeah, but now I think about it, I'll go back to it. Yeah.
We just started rewatching it again, so we're at the end of season 1 again.
Oh, nice. Okay, so definitely everyone in IMCSB, let's let's watch it. And a favorite book?
Rivers of London.
Okay, what is it about?
So I only read the first 3 books so far, but it's kind of about a detective who is also can do magic, and then there's some kind of crimes that happen that are also a bit magic. So he gets involved, and things don't always work out the way they planned it.
Oh, that sounds quite good. Well, good other suggestions now. Then claims to fame.
None.
None.
What would be a claim to fame?
I don't know. Like either you met someone famous also, you're friend with someone famous, you're famous for something. Well, you've been spotlighted in the website, I guess.
I mean, that's a great. I would say my 10K impressions tweet is my claim to fame.
Which it kind of is. Yeah, it is. Okay, you're Twitter famous, fine. Too old for TikTok famous at this point, probably.
Apart from that, I met one football player once who played for Dortmund when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't play anymore, so I don't think anyone knows him anymore.
Okay, well, we can. Yeah, okay, let's claim that to fame. Last question for you is, if not a scientist, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually would have liked to be a professional football player, even though not really a good career path for women, because usually they have to work a second job to be able to. But yeah, that would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been cool. I know you played, was it 5s or 7s? 7-a-side?
Depends on how many people signed up.
Well, are you thinking of coming back to it? Because we can do sports outside now, can we?
So contact sports are only allowed from, I think, the 24th of April, or like whenever we're level 2 again. So we're already texting about when we play.
Oh, that's exciting.
My fitness level is 0, so it will be interesting to see what I look like after the first time play.
But I'm sure like now cycling to work plus that, it become like your fitness level will go back to norm too.
That's true. I have like a month to go.
Exactly. Can't wait. Okay. Well. I think that will be the end of today's podcast. So that was a lovely chat, and we can conclude here, I think, unless you have anything else to add.
Just wanted to say that if anyone wants to get in touch about anything kind of LGBTQ related and wants to be part of, I don't know, focus group, or just wants to chat, you're welcome to get in touch. Just hang in there. The pandemic is hopefully going to get better. Yay!
Well, thank you very much for joining me. And well, thanks for everyone who's listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, let's do join for the next one. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Miriam.